She was given the code name Mary. Her task was to insert herself into the inner circle of Washington's political set. She rented an apartment in Wisconsin Avenue and set about infiltrating the embassy party circuit. Miles, according to everyone who ever wrote anything about her, was exceedingly attractive. She was tall, beautiful. To look at her was to be excited. When she chose to, she could make her eyes and shy smile combine to convey an unspoken invitation, one that no man could mistake. According to Pamela Kessler, Miles's method was simple. She slept with as many State Department, Defense Department and White House aides as she could. The KGB had a name for a woman like her. Swallow. The Swallow's Nest is her apartment, usually equipped with cameras and recorders. Her male counterpart is the Raven. Brereton had always thought of herself as plain, but Edwards made her feel special and attractive. They had met at a party in December 1984. He was drawn to him from that first meeting and they became lovers. She had recently qualified as a lawyer and had started her own practice. 3 months after they met, Edwards told her he was looking to recruit a human rights lawyer who could infiltrate the white left, and said she would be doing her patriotic duty by informing. I just blinded myself to his occupation, and because I was in love with him and spellbound by him I agreed to become an agent. Brereton was given the key to a safe house in Humewood where she and Edwards conducted their affairs, both undercover and under the covers. It was exciting and thrilling, and Brereton was mesmerized by Edwards. They say power is an aphrodisiac, and I'm afraid that was true in my case. A journalist on the espionage beat wrote this account of her in the Washington Post. Those who were acquainted with her say she is far prettier than her pictures indicate, and describe her variously as the most beautifully built girl I've ever seen, the most lovely person I've ever met, and the sweetest, kindest girl you can imagine. Tall, blonde and wiggly, she wore miniskirts and low-cut dresses, liked to sunbathe on the roof of her 10-story apartment building in a bikini, and captivated men and women alike with her bubbly personality. She took your breath away.
Cherry was shocked, absolutely completely shocked, that the solid, diligent and committed human rights activist, who was the go-to lawyer for people harassed and victimized by the police, was in fact a spy. Brereton had been part of her circle, and had a reputation as a fighter for the rights of the oppressed. It had never crossed my mind that Vanessa was a spy. Cherry tried to phone Brereton, who had relocated to London in 1997, but she would not come to the phone and did not return her calls. For Cherry, her silence was confirmation that she was a spy.
When a pretty blonde spy was unmasked in 1959 at Wits University, a national furore erupted. The drama began at the beginning of that year. The recently elected Student Representative Council president learned via Pillow Talk that Priscilla Lefson, a part-time model who had just graduated with a BA degree, had been receiving payments from the police in return for information about student political activity at Wits. Schindler's informant was his girlfriend, a close friend of Lefson. They lured her into Wenzel's flat one evening and confronted her. At first Lefson denied everything. When they insisted she answer questions, Lefson wanted to know if the trio intended to use Chinese torture on her if she refused. She might have got away with her espionage if the building's superintendent hadn't thought the bushes on the wall needed a trim. While he was pruning, he saw the crack in the wall and discovered the report, which had been signed by Mary. He called the FBI, which launched an investigation on the 6th of July 1969. A day later the FBI was certain Mary was Miles, but didn't have proof and didn't know who her Cuban contacts were. They put her under surveillance. bugged her apartment and kept a record of everyone who visited her. The FBI had hoped that Miles would lead them to important Cuban and Soviet contacts, but when she started to mingle with senators and other prominent government officials, they decided she had graduated from a potential menace to a real and present danger. Williamson was sitting at his desk at Security Police Headquarters one day in November 1981 when the phone rang. The person who called was 20-year-old Olivia Anna Marie Forsyth. She told Williamson she wanted to be a spy. Williamson knew that already. He had been waiting for her call. Forsyth had been spotted by someone at Foreign Affairs, who thought she fitted the special branch's requirements, and was told to call a number. She had already had a basic screening. Making the call was just another step in her evaluation.
He didn't know just how deep it was. He hoped the authorities were only suspicious of him and they hadn't actually discovered his true identity. He knew he was under surveillance in New York when he spotted two teams watching him. His strategy was to convince them that he was harmless. So he did things like leave the door to his hotel room unlocked. Days passed without anything happening, and he thought, well, if they haven't arrested me yet, perhaps they are not going to. He was wrong. 8 days after he'd landed at JFK and seen the customs official write Male Fide next to his name, Harold and Patrick, a friend he'd made, decided to meet for a drink in a hotel room. They had just sat down with a glass of whiskey in their hands when the SWAT team burst through the door. Harold didn't move. He took another sip of his drink. The thought flashed through his mind that this was probably the last drink he would ever have.